Okay, so next we have these defined terms. So once we position our undefined terms, our points, our lines, our planes, now we can define some more terms from those. So the first one is called a segment. So a segment is part of a line where it has two endpoints, a segment. So notice here in this picture, A and B, there's no arrows. It starts at A, it stops at B. It starts at B, stops at A. It is a defined segment. You name it with the two endpoints, segment AB or segment BA. Again, order doesn't matter. And again, the big thing with a segment is that it has length. You can measure the distance from A to B, and it has a length. A line, because it goes on infinitely in both directions, you can never measure a line. You can't find its length. Next, a ray. So a ray has one endpoint and then extends infinitely in one direction. So it has a starting point. So this ray is starting at A. That's why when you name it, you start with the letter A. And then it goes through a second point B. So then you put second point B and notice the ray above it. So again, this gives it order or direction. I could not call this is not ray BA. It's not ray BA. Okay, so if I were to draw ray BA, and I'll do it right here, I would have to have B, and then I would have to have my ray going off in a direction, doesn't matter which way it goes, and then going through A. This would be ray BA. And notice that despite the ray going off to the left, the image, I still name it BA, and that arrow goes to the right. So you name them always going to the right, like left to right, no matter which way the ray is really going in the picture. And then last but not least are opposite rays. So opposite rays have the same endpoint and they form a line. Very important ideas here. So in this picture here, I have two rays, ray CA and ray CB. Notice they both start with C because they have the same endpoint. So CA starts at C and goes through A. I'll do that in blue. And then I'm going to change my color to red real fast. I think that's red. Maybe red's here. Okay. And I'm going to go from C to B. Now, the picture did not have an arrow, so I'm going to add an arrow. Notice that these two rays go in opposite directions. They never overlap, and together they form line AB, or line AC, or line BC. Not 3 points, just 2 points, right? Okay. So again, opposite rays form lines. All right. Cool. Okay, next we're going to talk about these things called postulates. So in geometry, we're going to use this word postulate often. Postulates are just accepted statement of fact. So you just have to believe it's true. And geometry is a lot of the basis of geometry is off of these postulates. Now, if you take further math, they might be called axioms. Okay, so the first two I think are kind of important. So the first one says through any 2 points, there's a line. This just emphasizes the idea that you only need 2 points to make a line. I would like to refresh you back to algebra 1. So remember in algebra 1, when you graph a line, typically it's in slope-intercept form. You start with the y-intercept, that's 1 point. You count the slope, rise and run, that's your second point, and you can graph your line. So you only need 2 points. The next postulate talks about when two lines intersect, their intersection is exactly 1 point. So this idea of intersecting is very important. We're going to talk about perpendicular later in the year. A lot of people confuse intersect with perpendicular. Perpendicular is very specific, okay? And we'll talk about it later. But here, intersect means where they cross, right? The point where they cross. And again, this is the description. This is the geometry. Lines A, E, and DB intersect in point C. You have to be able to either read that and be able to draw this picture or see this picture here and be able to write down that sentence. That's very important. That's the vocab part, okay? And again, sometimes the book gets lazy. There should really be a point there, right, for point C. Okay. And then the last slide of these notes. So these two postulates, I don't think they're as important, again, because they're about planes. And again, we're 2D right now, we're not 3D. So this first one talks about if two planes intersect. Again, that's more of a 3D idea. That'll be later on in the year. And then this last one here, again, talks about defining a plane. I'm not concerned. Okay. All right, great. Thanks for watching.